kids. Welcome to Unit 3, Day 4, Translating English into Math. You're going to like it. It's fun. It's just like we were doing the other day when we were holding up the whiteboards and we were figuring out our age, 2 years less than our age and stuff like that. So let's go for it. Okay. We're going to talk about different words that we see that tell us what kind of operations we need to use. So we're first going to talk about adding words. So if you look over to the right, you see some words that should clue you in that you need to add. So words like total, or increase, or sum, together, in all, both, all together. Those all clue you in that you're going to be doing some adding. So, let's look at our some word expressions. How many hamburgers, which we'll use the variable h for hamburgers, and how many hot dogs, which we'll use d, all together. So we know that we are, all together is an adding word, so we'll try to figure out what hold on guys. Okay, we'll try to figure out h plus d. And that's going to represent how many hamburgers and hot dogs we have all together. Okay. Now if we know how much sales we have for a particular month, and we're increasing our sales by 10 cars, the word increased means we're going to be adding. So we can write that as our sales, which is S, plus 10. Okay, let's talk about subtracting words. Lots of them. How many more, or how many are left? The word decrease means we're going to subtract. Remainder, how many are left over? Another how many more. If we're decreasing something by, that means we're subtracting. How much are left? The word difference, you know that one. Less than and shorter than. Okay, so the first example is something that we played around with. We're talking about 2 years less than 3 times your age. So we need to figure out what 3 times your age is first. We'll call that 3a, because a will represent our age. And then 2 years less than that is that number, and we'll subtract 2 from it. Okay. Remember with less than, it kind of makes things go backwards here. It's not 2 minus 3a, it's 3a minus 2. Okay. Think about it using your own age and it'll make sense. Okay. If we have the difference between the number of band students and orchestra students, okay, difference is going to be subtraction. So let's call our band students B and our orchestra students O. The difference between them would be B minus O. All right, thank you for being patient as I get used to this new technology. Okay, so if we have how many more boys than girls, we're going to look at the keywords and I see how many more. That tells me that I'm going to be doing some subtraction. So I'll use the variable b for boys, the number of boys, and g for the number of girls. And I can write this expression as b minus g. Okay, now let's talk about multiplication words. Product, times, and remember we spoke about the word of, especially with fractions. So let's write, if we're looking at 1/3 of the students in the class. So I'm seeing some important words here. First of all, we'll call the number of students in the class, we'll call that S. And I see 1/3. I know that, so sorry guys. 1/3 of, and we talked about of meaning multiplication. So we can write this as 1/3 times S, which is the number of students in the class, because that word of means multiplication. If I see 4 times as many people agree, I'll use a variable for the number of people that agree. We'll call that P. You can call it anything you'd like. And if it's 4 times as many people, okay, I'm seeing the word times, that's a multiplication word. So it'll be 4 times P, multiply. The product of 4 and P. All right, let's talk about dividing words. So, when you see the word quotient, you know dividing. But when you see the word average, that's also a dividing word. We have to find the sum of the items, and then we need to divide by the number of items that we have. Shared equally means we're going to be dividing the number of items. Each, part of, per, like how many students per classroom. Those are all dividing words. So let's look at our first example. A bag of 65 M&Ms is shared equally among F friends. So now let's see, what words do I see here? I see shared equally. Whoops. I see shared equally. That tells me I'm going to do dividing. So I'm going to be dividing 65, and it's shared equally among F friends. F is my variable, the number of friends I have. So it would be 65 divided by F. You could also write that as 65 divided by F. Okay. All right, the average number of YouTube videos for 3 days. I see the word average, so I'm going to be doing some dividing. And I'm going to be dividing by 3. What am I going to divide? I'm going to be dividing the total number of YouTube views that happened over the 3 days. So I'll call that D1 for the number that happened on the first day, plus D2, which is the number on the second day, plus D3, which is the number of views on the third day. And I'm going to be dividing it by 3. And I can't just do divided by 3 here, because I need to remember that this whole thing is a group. What do I do when I've got a group? Oh yeah, I put parentheses. Now I can divide by 3, but the way I like to do it is I'm going to make it as a fraction. Divide by 3. And that's how I figure out my average. If I ask you to write the expression of 2 more than half my age, and I'm telling you that my age is A, okay, well, I see half. I know half is 1 half, 1 over 2. I see of, so I'm going to do that multiplication first. I know that 2 more than, that's going to be addition. So let's see. Half of my age would be 1 half times A. Now some of you might write A over 2, and that's fine also. Okay, so I've got half my age, and I'm adding 2 to it because it's 2 more than. So I can add 2. 1 half times A plus 2. Okay. 4 less than double the school population. Okay, so the word double, it's a multiplication word. I'm going to multiply that school population by 2. And it's 4 less than it. So will it be 4 minus 2p? No, remember when it's less than, it always goes on the right here. So it's 2p minus 4. I find out what the population is, then I double that, and then I take 4 less than double the population. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, now let's look at this one. This looks like fun. Twice the sum of 3 times a number, I'm going to call that number x, and 7. That's a lot of stuff here. So I see twice. That means I'm going to double something. That's like a multiplication kind of word. Make an x there. the sum, I know that's an addition word, of, that's not multiplication, it still goes along with the word sum of. 3 times a number, that's going to be a multiplication. Oops, I'm calling the number x, that makes it even more confusing. So 3 times a number and 7. So what do you think I'm going to do first? Well, it looks like I've got to figure out what 3 times the number is first. So I'm going to call that 3x. Okay. Then I'm going to figure out the sum of that 3x and, and 7. So sum is adding. The sum of 3 times the number and 7. Good, I got that one done. And then I'm going to do twice that whole thing. So let me see, should I multiply the whole thing by 2? Am I multiplying the whole thing by 2? No, I'm not. If I were to do PEMDAS on this, I would only be multiplying that 3x by 2. So this is wrong. I really want to multiply this whole thing by 2. What do you think I should do, kids? Exactly. Put it in parentheses to keep it as a group. So this represents 2 times or twice the sum of 3 times a number and 7. And since this is multiplication, it's 2 times this polynomial in here. I'll be distributing it if I were to actually simplify this expression, which I have not asked you to do. Just want you to translate English into math. Okay, that's it. Turn your papers over. See if you can do that puzzle on the back. I think you can. And I'll see you in class.